Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5. This one is a doozy. We went hunting in a town called Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and believe me, you're gonna want to see what we found out there. Sit back, relax, let's find some hacks. Alright, our lead today comes from a young lady named Jordan. Jordan wrote, "Dear Hack Hunter, I live in a small town where I'm looking for a tattoo artist that could do a sleeve of different types of animals. Each animal means something really important to me. I'm talking with a tattoo artist that showed me some of the animal tattoos that he's done, and I didn't think they were that bad, but I want to know what you think before I book something with him." No problem, Jordan. Thanks so much for writing in. I checked this guy out, and I got some inside information that I think you'll want to hear before you get tattooed by him. So, let's break it down. Alright, Jordan, this is the guy that you've been talking to about your animal sleeve, and right away, I want to showcase a couple of things that I think are really important. This is a relatively recent picture of him. This guy's name is Ruben Riviera, and I see a couple of mistakes here. The machine, first off. This is a very cheap knockoff of a more expensive machine called the Butterfly or the Dragonfly, and he has a really cheap knockoff of it right here, and you can get one of these things for as cheap as $20. The way I can tell is this old school clip cord connection at the bottom of it. It's meant to connect to old school tattoo machines as well, or traditional machines as we call them. Also, the clip cord runs down here. It should be covered as well as his machine should be covered. So he should not only care a little bit more about spending money on high quality equipment that's going to be better for him and his clients, but also he should be protecting him and his clients from cross contamination. And if your machine's just sitting there, it's going to get different types of fluids, ink and plasma and blood can get all up in each one of these little creases and all the mechanism there. So right away, I would suggest nobody go to the guy just based on that. However, I'll continue on. He's working at Rebel Tattoo there in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and I didn't find a website, but you can find him on Facebook, American Rebel Tattoo, facebook.com. I found a picture of his studio. I found quite a few pictures of their studio. They've been around for a long time, and the thing that I really was nervous about is this stuff here. It's called flash art, and whenever you walk into a studio and you see it covering the walls, and these right here are called flash racks, whenever you see all that, I usually refer to it as a flash studio. And it's starting to become a little bit more outdated and antiquated. Most studios, you walk in, you tell the artist what you want, and they design you something custom based on what you asked for. But a lot of these studios, it can be kind of a crutch. The artist will use the flash, or they'll refer the clients to flash, or ask you to pick something off the walls. The downside about that is that everybody looks at these images, and the cool ones, the great images, they all stand out. So you get a lot of people, multiple people choosing the same pictures. And that's sort of my problem with it. That's why I don't work at flash studios. We don't provide flash at my studio anymore. And so that's also something I saw a lot in his work. This tiger right here, it's not the worst tiger in the world. We've definitely seen way worse on the show. But I can tell you, I recognize it right off the bat. First studio I ever worked at, way back in the day. They had this flash set, and it's from a company called Cherry Creek, and there's the exact lion. Or, I'm sorry, tiger. There's the exact tiger, only just flipped around, and he didn't do a great job on it. I think he just used a base orange on the whole thing, and I think any artist worth their salt would know you gotta use browns in there and a little bit more contrasting. You can't use just a bright orange throughout, or you get a little bit of a cartoony feel to it, but ultimately he just traced this thing verbatim pretty much. It looks almost identical to that one. Here's another example. Little baby tiger. You added some angel wings and a little hummingbird here. But again, here's the flash sheet from the same exact flash set. Cherry Creek Flash. And yeah, it's the exact same little baby. And I hate to see that. I don't want to see any... I would like to think that a client came in, saw that artwork on the wall, and chose it. And in which case, that's okay, the client chose it. But if this is an example of where a client just asked for a little baby tiger, and then he went and just traced it off the wall, that's the kind of thing that I would disagree with and tell you to avoid in an artist. Here's another example. This is definitely a flash piece, or at least he put together a couple pieces a couple of flash pieces together to make this piece, but ultimately he did not do a great job on executing it. The beak here is really busted up wonky. That does not look like the typical eagle beak, and really inconsistent sort of chicken looking feathers there. Yeah, ultimately when you zoom in on that one, it's just sort of rough and etchy all around. Here, roll tide. Alright, here's an elephant. Looks like its trunk got chewed on a little bit there by maybe one of them tigers we just saw, but very inconsistent line work. Oh man, yeah, if you really zoom in, you see a lot of these really tiny inconsistencies where some places he went a little deeper and the line comes out thicker. Some places he went a little shallower and the line comes out thinner and lighter. All of the lines come out a little bit shaky, and I think this is just something that he's got to work on. He's got to maybe work with some better artists to get some examples and some techniques on how he can smooth out his line work, keep it consistent, keep that depth. But otherwise, most of his pieces had this inconsistency where the lines go from thick to thin. And that's just because his hand is not stable enough. The needle is going slightly deeper in some places and slightly shallower in others. Here's an example of something I think was custom. I think so. You don't see a lot of custom stuff from Ruben, but this particular one, I think, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's possible that this lady's, 5-year-old daughter drew her a rose and she asked for it to get copied on her skin, but I'm gonna assume that Ruben drew this and it's just a really oversimplified version of a lily. Just a really rough job. I can't say enough about it. I feel bad for the lady wearing it. It's very unimpressive to say the least. Here's another one that might be a custom piece on his part. Again, very shaky lines. The change in depth of his needle here. This is going to heal really rough. It's gonna look like some of those lines are gray and some of them are really dark and blown out. And a lot of this gray wash is really etchy. It's hard to tell how it's going to heal, but I can definitely tell the black saturation is not there. He has a hard time really making it look deep and shadowed in there. But overall, I feel bad for the gentleman wearing this. I can tell Ruben was proud of it. He posted it. He even put this shadow on the backdrop to make it look like a nicer photo, but it's just not helping the tattoo design at all. Overall, I gotta say, Ruben, I cannot give you my approval. Jordan, I would strongly suggest you find another artist, and I think I got the right one for you. So stick around. Everybody else, put your comments down below. Let Ruben know what you think of his artwork, and we'll move on. Alright, Jordan, I want you to be willing to take a little road trip up to Knoxville, Tennessee, because that's where you're going to meet Mariella Myers. She is working at Riverside Tattoo Company. You can find them at riversidetattoo.club, and there's actually 2 locations, so you're going to have to do the / Knoxville location. They also have one in Boston. But she's working in Knoxville, Tennessee, and here is some of her animals. You're talking about one in animal sleeve, and there is nobody better I can recommend. I mean, there's some great, incredibly great artists in Knoxville, Tennessee, but you were talking about animals, and as I'm looking through artists, this is who popped out the most. Look at this amazing detail. This is her own sort of unique style of tattooing. Right away, though, you know exactly what kind of animal that is, and you know that that color is saturated. It's gonna stay there. It's very smoothly blended. Yeah, just very impressive all around from her. And here's a moth. Look at that detail. Look at the tiny little detail in his antennas. Wow, so when you zoom out, those antennas just look really nice and soft. I just love the detail here. Here's another one, a little scary, but she does this great, big, bold style with just such smooth blending, clean, saturated colors. You don't see any patchiness, bloody skin, or any of that. It's just beautiful work. Here's another one, I believe it's a death set moth, and you can really see how smooth those lines are. Look at those little bumps on the lines coming out there, very intentionally done that way. The snake's head here, just the tiny little bits of white that create that glare in the scales. This is just incredibly smooth work. It doesn't get much smoother than this. Tattooing is a very inconsistent, imperfect art form, and she just makes it look very consistent and very easy. Here's a nice one, a little cow. My favorite part of this is the bells she did down here. Yeah, it's really hard to blend from dark to yellow, right? From a dark black up to a yellow, because the color dark yellow doesn't actually exist. We have to kind of find these creative ways to blend into it, and a lot of times it's very, very difficult. You get a lot of like patchy or etchy, kind of scratchy, choppy look when you blend from black to yellow, but she has found a very nice way of doing it. Very beautiful. Yeah. No issue there at all. Again, very smooth, very consistent lines, very consistent saturation. You just get an amazing outcome, and all of her artwork looks like this. So, Mariella, I'm sure you don't need my approval, but you're definitely Hack Hunter approved. Thanks for your work. Keep making the industry look good. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. Come back next week. Hit that subscribe button so you'll know if the second a new one pops up. And feel free to email us if you're looking for an artist in your area and you need some help at thehackhunters@gmail.com. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.